Let's see. Oh, well, yeah, I guess I was doing a reference to somebody else. Eventually, I'll come back around to it. I just can't think of it right now. Where I like to give shout outs to other people at times. All right, regularly scheduled jokes. Yeah, I guess I'm starting off with thank you. Well, yeah, I guess one of these is a shout out because there was the joke that mentioned The Simpsons. And uh, I recently watched The Simpsons, not on Super Bowl Sunday, but the one before, the Sunday before it, and that starts me off with saying thank you, Simpsons, because sometimes you can learn things from pop culture if you're paying attention, if you really want to. Uh, there was mention of German chocolate cake is not German. Just the man who invented it is named German. And it's like, well, I still like the cake. I'm still going to eat it. I guess it reminded me of also Second Iraq War, where many people wanted nothing to do with anything French because French wasn't supporting the U.S. in the war, and then I guess an employee of French's mustard company said the only thing French about our mustard is the name. So I guess that's a lot like the German chocolate cake. Yeah, it's only the name. Uh, Oh, and then the other thank you, Writer's Almanac. I subscribe to the regular email from Writer's Almanac from Garrison Keeler, and there's usually a lot to read from one day to the next. There's usually at least one article about some type of event or writer or whatever. And in this case, the recent one that I really liked was mention of New Amsterdam, the colony that eventually became New York. And it's a reminder of how, even though I was a history major, I understand that I can still learn things because not everything is in the history books. It surprised me a little that that was the first time where I learned of New Amsterdam also being a military port. I know that many great American cities started out that way: Chicago, Pittsburgh, Des Moines, Iowa. Uh, but for whatever reason, they didn't put it in the history books that I read when I was young. The thing I remember them saying about it becoming New York was England had a stronger military. But according to what I recently read, was that the Dutch got it back for a few years, and then the English got it back after that because they were fighting a lot during the 1600s. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess that would be a downer to have that in history books saying, oh no, we had to fight for it again. We lost it. And, we had to fight again. It's like, oh, yeah, kind of like the French and English fighting a lot over the years too. I mean, it was so hard to keep up with all of it. It's like, which war are we fighting? Uh, oh, and I also looked up Bowling Green because I guess there's a Bowling Green in that area of the southern tip of Manhattan where the New Amsterdam colony and military fort was. And I always thought it was funny to hear of a place called Bowling Green, a college because that's the name of the city it's in Kentucky, and I always had the impression that a bowling green was a big bowling ball. It's like, no, more like bocce ball. I guess I even put it in my blog. I said, well, I guess there are weirder names for cities than a sporting venue like Bowling Green. I mean, the capital city of Louisiana is called what? Baton Rouge. That's French for red post. It needs a name. Sometimes names are weird, but you got to start with something. Uh, I'm still doing the Redbox rentals too. Why not? Because I often get discount codes. I was telling my college mate about that this week, and I said, you can't beat 59 cents. When they give me a discount code of $1.25, 59 cents is all I pay, including tax, for one night. They're practically giving them away. And the one I watched this weekend was Born a Champion. I guess that's the man in me where I like boxing or martial arts movies. And this one was about the history of ultimate fighting or mixed martial arts. Fictionalized, of course, but they still had some actual events in it, like footage from the congressional hearings. I think those are the ones where Senator John McCain at one point called it human cockfighting when it didn't have a lot of rules and it wasn't getting sanctioned for a while. the 60 Minutes feature that I watched mentioned that as well. The funniest thing in it, and yes, even a martial arts movie can have funny things in it, was the inseparable couple in it. They would argue, and then the dude goes to have a beer with his friend, and then she drives over to that place, and they hug, and all is forgiven. And it's just funny because they repeated that scene. There were 3 times they did the scene, and the 3rd time they flipped the script, and it's like, oh yeah, you're kind of expecting it. It's still funny though, the way it ends, the particular scene anyway. I'm sure that is the case in other movies, kind of like sequels, where yeah, this was in the original. They've got to have it in the sequel for continuity purposes. I guess that's the best way of putting it. Where it would be wrong if they didn't do that. And I have the P.O. box for eBay and Amazon orders because, well, porch pirates are everywhere, and I want to make sure I get my orders. So this weekend I picked up orders, and one of them was a book. And the funny postal employee, I know I've talked about him before because he gives me good comedy material. He asked me if it was Animal Farm because he read that book in school. And I said, no. But I had to ask if it was the same author as 1984. I looked up later on, yes. But no, that was not the book that I got. It was another baseball memoir book because I love baseball. I wanted to see what he had to say about it. And it was kind of weird what I did read, where he had to say that it was a tragedy that his favorite team lost. And it's like, yeah, I've known a few too many people like that where they live and die with their favorite sports teams. I was that way as a kid, and I realized it's a shallow lifestyle. So yeah, I don't get too emotionally involved in how a sports team does. It would just be wrong. But unfortunately, there are some people like that out there. Oh yes, I did watch the Super Bowl. Best commercials of the year, and I even did watch the warm-up show that they had on Saturday night as well. Commercials from yesteryear. I guess the Super Bowl commercial that had the most impact for me was about tax paranoia. Can't remember which one. TurboTax, probably. They talked about how in the state of New Mexico, if you reach age 100, you don't have to pay taxes. Well, I work in life insurance. I know this much. The life insurance rules only go up to age 100 in life expectancy because so few people live to be 100. So my guess is they don't have to do that very often in New Mexico when so few people live to be 100. I guess it's not just Willard Scott announcing you for reaching age 100 where you might get some nice prizes or benefits from living that long. That's what I can think of on that, even though I don't know if Willard Scott still does that. I don't watch morning news. Super Bowl commercials, yeah, I did that. Super Bowl Sunday. Getting things done. I made some calls before the Super Bowl started. One was to my dad. He was trying to call me when I was calling somebody else, my college roommate. My college roommate doesn't follow sports. And he said, well, the Super Bowl must be over because you're calling me. It's like, no, it hasn't started yet. It doesn't start until the evening. And looks like I'll be having dinner at his place soon. It's like, cool. He lives in the area. I don't see him that often, so why not? And then I called my dad, and I like how the call was shorter than typical because he said, well, the Super Bowl is starting. Maybe we should wind this down. My calls with dad can be movie length. Yeah, I wish I was making that up. And with my commute to work, I'm driving past a jewelry store. And the weird thing is there's a billboard above the jewelry store. And quite often the billboard is advertising the jewelry store. You would think the jewelry store itself was big enough advertisement. I don't know. They can't get somebody else to fill that billboard. That's all I can think of. And after the riots, I know they put up things saying, nothing in here. And it's kind of sad they have to do certain things. But hey, you got to protect your business if you own the business. So I get it. And I think they even have a heart up now in one of those boarded up windows. They just kept it up as far as I know. So I guess that will do it for me. Thank you all, been great.
Woo! Yay!